activists packed the Seattle City Council chambers March 30th to support a resolution opposing the current TransPacific Partnership Agreement, TPP, and any fast-track authority. Representatives from unions, environmentalists, community, and political organizations spoke out against turning over this nation's trade policies to multinational corporations, which will be the real result of this agreement. They also spoke out against the secretive way the whole process has been handled. Seattle DSA members attended in solidarity with the anti-TPP movement and to add our voice to the growing opposition to a bad deal. Congress and the President need to rethink their positions before it's too late. We urge citizens to call their representatives and senators and say, no deal, no TPP.
Chilling effect on democratic processes. There are many examples of Canadian jurisdictions dropping laws they had planned to enact after American corporations threatened legal action under NAFTA. So this is really the whole ISDS process is unfair.
And ask that you vote that resolution. We represent 30,000 machinists that build the finest airplanes in the world, and we know the importance of trade. We have, we comprise nearly 10% of our nation's export trade, and that's a very positive thing for the balance of trade issue. However, we are exporting more than planes. We're exporting jobs as well, and we have seen that. As a matter of fact, we have a graphic.
I want to relate a very short story of a conversation I had with my brother, Congressman McClellan. I called him up and said, hey brother, I need a copy of the TPP. Can you give me a copy? And he said, no. And I said, well, would you want to give me one? He said, yes. And I said, well, why don't you give me one? He said, they won't let me have one. I said, really? You've been in Congress 27 years and they won't give you a copy. He said, that's right. So then I said, well, have you looked at it? He said, yes, I can look at it. I can go to a secure room with one of my staff. Because I have a national security clearance, we're not allowed to take notes. We're not allowed to take any recording devices, but we are allowed to read it. I said, well, how's that feel? I'll leave that to you. If you want to ask him, you can ask him yourself. Usually with 80% of the votes cannot have a copy of something that they're going to get 30 days to discuss is beyond preposterous. This would be a funny movie, except this is about the real lives of real people, not only here, but all over the world. Please vote against passing.
Corporations get to sue nations and private trade courts because they claim they might lose money over laws that are designed to protect people or the environment. Here's an example. A company called Lone Pine Resources wanted to frack for natural gas under the St. Lawrence River. The province of Quebec put a moratorium on fracking just to study it. And then the company used its U.S.-based headquarters to sue Canada in trade court for a whopping $250 million for, off the top of my head, quote, the arbitrary, capricious, and illegal revocation of the enterprise's valuable right to mine for oil and gas. Of the people living along the St. Lawrence that water free of toxic fracking chemicals. What about their rights to clean air? Cases like this are becoming more and more common under trade agreements. Here's a little close to home. What if companies could sue for...
And I remember when Columbia Lighting closed, and we lost 1,000 jobs overnight to Juarez here in Washington. And we don't want to see that happen again.
And ultimately, with fast track, with TPP,
Labor's not at the table. We're not at the table like we were when we passed the historic $15 an hour minimum wage with you guys. But we're at the table right now, talking to you today, and this is our chance to make history again, because the whole country is watching, and this is our chance to say,
in a back room there in D.C., they are cooking up a deal. They say trade deal, we say no deal. Show us what the draft conceals. TransPacific, TransPacific, TransPacific Partnership. Not a trade deal, but a bone deal. clarify things, and I support that.
An ongoing conversation about further refinements of language, which I will speak to in a moment, and adding a fourth section. But I'd like to put version 3 before us to speak to that. I'll second the motion. Any questions or
Live
comments?
in permitted residential areas along with other Seattle residents.
Thank you.